It's time to get your morning started with the news you need to know.
News update.
This is what's trending with DJ and PK. Hashtag Utah Jazz.
For Cody in general, I'm looking for the same thing that I've talked a little bit with you guys about Walker some in the past. Like, I want him to be 10 to 20% more reckless. I want him to be assertive. I want him to be a little bit more demonstrative. I want him to not overthink whether he's making the perfect play. I want him to be a little bit more reckless. And with that is going to come some mistakes. It's going to bring a few plays that are going to be loud and ugly, but that doesn't bother me.
There's the coach, Will Hardy. And Will Hardy would like more recklessness and less thinking, which, well, welcome to the NBA. That's what happens to rookies. That's what happens to young players. And the older they get, the more they just play the game and make the right choices. In the meantime, they lose a lot, which is okay with the Utah Jazz this year. They just lost their 10th straight game. The Bulls beat them. Jazz fall to 15-54 on the year. They've got the worst record in the NBA. Everything is a building block, and nobody really wants to hear that. Just get through it and get to the great draft pick. Bulls win 111-97, and Keontae George and Lauri Markkanen led the Jazz with 16 points. Markkanen took 10 shots in the first quarter, 4 in the second, 2 in the third, none in the fourth. And I think we're going to see Lauri play. They won't put him on the injury report. They don't want to get fined again. Don't need to get on the league's bad side. There's a million different ways they could punish you if you become that team. So don't become that team. And sit him in the second half as much as possible, and you'll lose games, and that seems to be working too. Jazz are back in action tomorrow. Huge game in the race to the bottom. It's the Jazz and the Wizards. They're both on 15 wins. Got the Hornets on 17, the Pelicans on 18. So, big game tomorrow night. DJ and PK.
Hashtag NBA.
Hawkins switches off to Beasley. Beasley pokes it away. Loose ball picked up by Holland. Holland ahead. Cade to the basket. Dunks. And it's a 30-point Piston lead.
Knicks by 25. Shamet forced to pass to Towns on the break. Hop step in the paint, and he banks one in to give the Knicks a 94-67 lead. Timeout Eric Spoelstra. It could be white flag time as Towns has 21.
10 seconds to shoot, half a minute to go in overtime. Toppin from up top, and he banked in a three. Wow. 31 points for Obi Toppin.
Obi Toppin with the shot of the night. A three-pointer in the corner, falling out of bounds. Okay, a little late on the defense, a difficult shot, and it's a game winner. And the Pacers beat the Timberwolves 132-130. The shocking score of the night, the Warriors, who were red hot, lost. They lost to a Denver Nuggets team that was very shorthanded. Jokic wasn't playing. They took a shot at him on the sideline during the game. He was sitting there eating grapes. He really is one of a kind. I don't think I've ever seen players eat grapes before. I think there have been people eating popcorn. Once upon a time in Yak, maybe you remember who it was. Some player got busted for eating a hot dog during a game. Can't remember who that was.
I remember it happening. I remember who
it was. It was a big guy, and it was somebody who was, his commitment and all that was questioned. So it was, In any case, he was over there eating grapes. So that was something. And Murray was out. They didn't have him. But they got 38 points from Aaron Gordon. And they got a triple-double from Russell Westbrook. And they scored a bazillion points in transition. It seemed like they were in transition the whole game. And when you start getting 2-on-1s, 3-on-2s, breakaway dunks, life gets easier. Denver beats Golden State 114-104. Golden State and Minnesota are locked in a tie right now for 6th and 7th. Who's in the play-in, who's not. The Warriors are talking about giving Steph Curry time off. Obviously, they'd like to stay out of the play-in because you can give Steph Curry time off. You move from your mid-30s to your late 30s. Maybe you need a little break from the grind.
DJ was Nerlens Noel. He was the New Orleans Pelicans.
There it is. Nerlens Noel with the Pelicans eating a hot dog.
He went to the media dining room and got it of all places.
Well, see, you can't do that in Utah. They got rid of the media dining room. So
true story.
You don't have to worry about that anymore. Check that box. Yeah, Nerlens Noel, he was a high draft pick. You can click on that. He was a guy who was, there were a lot of expectations for him, but just an example of you can have a great draft pick, but that doesn't mean he brings you a lot of wins. Philadelphia 76ers have shut down Paul George for the rest of the season due to abductor and left knee injury concerns. Pelicans forward Trey Murphy out for the year with a labrum tear, partial tear of the rotator cuff. He dislocated his shoulder Monday night, so he's done for the year. It gets to that time of year now where you have an injury, and we're down to less than a month. I think it's 26 days to the final Sunday this season now. So there you go. The Lakers beat the Spurs 125-109 because these days everybody's beating the Spurs. DJ and PK.
Hashtag college basketball.
And I've asked Attorney General McCuskey to launch an investigation into the NCAA Tournament Selection Committee to determine if any backyard deals, backroom deals, corruption, bribes, or any nefarious activity occurred during the selection process. I know that the Attorney General and I are going to leave no stone unturned during this process.
People don't think the NCAA does the right thing. Welcome to the party. The governor of West Virginia has just showed up. That's Patrick Morrisey. Of course, West Virginia left out of the tournament. Big part of the explanation on why they got left out of the tournament. The coach's son had a season-ending injury. They haven't been as good since he got hurt. It really is amazing how many teams, it's like one thread. And when you pull that one thread, the team really takes a hit. And we've seen that with Iowa State, with guys in and out of the lineup. When they have all their guys, they're awesome. But they haven't had all their guys, and they've lost a bunch of games because of it. And you lose your point guard, and now either a guy who plays off the ball has got to go on the ball, or you got to bring a guy off the bench. These things happen. But the governor of West Virginia was out there, and he had a sign that said National Corrupt Athletic Association. I think as much as there were complaints with the NCAA, the NIT story, that one's a real head-scratcher.
South Alabama getting screwed.
Right? So UC Riverside gets an invite. They say no. They're going to go play in the CBI, and I guess you get to spend a week at Daytona Beach or whatever. So, okay, so they go to the next team, South Alabama. But then UC Riverside didn't know they were getting in the NIT, so they get out of the CBI and say, oh, we'll take the NIT bid. The NCAA runs the NIT now. So the NCAA calls South Alabama back and says, never mind, UCR's in after all. Well, everybody in South Alabama had gotten their hopes up. The coaches told the players, the coaches told the AD, blah, blah, blah. South Alabama has it ripped away. It's really not that hard. It seems like if someone passes, then you just move on. But no. And, of course, the big local college basketball news, the University of Utah. Alex Jensen had the press conference. We just played it for you in the last segment. Sees the college and pro games kind of merging as the college game becomes more and more professional. We've seen that with NIL. They're about to get the money to share with the players, which will just pump more money into it. I don't see NIL going away. It gives teams an advantage, man. The SEC and the Big Ten teams know, we got more money than everybody else. Why would they quit raising NIL just because you got this other pile of money over here? Alex did not say who would be on his staff, just that he had talked to a lot of his teammates. I think he was heavily lobbied. He said that it was a little bit of a roller coaster. There's some ups and downs in the process. I think there were some points where maybe he thought he wasn't going to take it, but then ultimately he did. And he had teammates leaning on him to do it, because those were the same teammates who were telling him that the AD was a nightmare and it was crazy. And then Alex is like, well, why would I take this then? And I don't know. A lot of back and forth, but as you heard from Mark Harlan, he and Alex had a lot of breakfast and got to know each other and overcome all that stuff that is out there. So Alex is on board. He's going to do both jobs until mid-April when the Mavericks wrap things up April 13th. Because, they could still be in the play-in, but at the rate they're going, it doesn't seem like they're going to hold on to that last spot. And if they do, then he'll be there a few days longer. DJ and PK.
Hashtag NFL.
The Houston Texans giving cornerback Derek Stingley Jr. the richest contract for a corner in NFL history. 3 years, $90 million and $89 million guaranteed. So he's their guy, and he is going to be there because all that money is guaranteed. And, of course, if the name is familiar, his dad played in the Arena League, but it's his grandfather who was really famous because he was a wide receiver for the Patriots and went over the middle in an era when you could still headhunt players. He had his spine injured, and he was paralyzed during a game. So his grandfather, quite the name in NFL history, and now Derek Stingley Jr. follows in his grandfather's footsteps. He's in the NFL with big, big money. And the Texans, and they better lock it down on defense because offensively they've been moving pieces around. They got a young quarterback. They've messed with their line. They've given up their tackle. Do they have the skill players around them? They did beef up their running game last year. So lock them down on defense and see if you can help the offense from there. Philadelphia Eagles offensive tackle Lane Johnson has reworked his deal to add $8 million over the next 2 years, additional $30 million guaranteed, making $48 million over the next 2 years. The money just keeps getting bigger. It's going up and up. DJ and PK.
Hashtag college football.
Spring game will be televised. ESPN2 will broadcast spring game on the 19th. We got to sell this thing out and pack this thing because the way the trend is going, you never know if this is going to be the last spring game. I don't believe in that. I don't really want to condone that. I would like to play the spring. Actually, I like to play against another team in the spring. That's what I'm trying to do right now, to have it competitive. Playing against your own guys kind of get monotonous, and you really can't tell the level of your guys because, it's the same old. Everybody kind of know each other towards the end. I would like to style it like the pros. I would like to practice against someone for a few days, then you have the spring game. And I think the public will be satisfied with that tremendously. I think it's a tremendous idea. Yeah, I've told those personnel who should understand that it's a tremendous idea.
Leave it to Deion Sanders to zig when everyone else zags. And I like it. Deion's a story, man. That guy, he is a story just one time after another. We got all these schools canceling their spring games. Nebraska. Hey, I don't want people watching this. I don't want them poaching players. Similar thoughts at Utah State where they've closed their spring practice. They're not going to have a spring game. Texas is not having a spring game. Sarkisian is saying, hey, the players are playing so many games now. There's so much contact. We need guys' bodies to recover and all that. And meanwhile, Deion wants to go to the pro model. I love it. It's totally different. And the pros, of course, teams will get together and they'll practice against each other. And that helps the coaches. And I totally get why Deion says this, because when your offense does something great, is it because your offense is doing something great or because your defense is terrible? And when the defense stops the offense, is it because the defense is great, or is it because the offense is terrible? Or is it just because the defense knows all the plays and all the alignments and they have scouted the offense forwards and backwards, and you can't fool them, you can't confuse them. They know everything that's coming. It's not real anymore. I totally get why Deion and lots of other coaches have been frustrated with that. Totally get why he'd want to go to this model. And he's not alone. He's leading, but he's not alone, because Syracuse coach Fran Brown responded on social media saying he would bring the Syracuse Orange out to Boulder for 3 days to do exactly that. And a lot of college coaches at some point, not all, but a lot of them have moved back and forth with pros. We see that. And certainly they've got friends in the pros, and we know that colleges go and visit pros and staffs, exchange ideas. Kyle Whittingham's son is on the Kansas City Chiefs staff, and he and Andy Reid played at BYU in the same area. And Kyle goes to some of their playoff games and Super Bowls and stuff like that. Obviously, they're exchanging ideas and talking about stuff like this. But Deion includes the fans and brings the fans into the discussion because it's entertainment. Everything doesn't have to be a big old secret. That's not going to help you win in the fall. Love it, Deion, and I wouldn't be surprised if some teams embrace it while other teams run from it.
Now, DJ, okay. Can I...
differently.
I've proposed this on the show before. Only thing I would add to what Deion's doing is make it FCS games. Move those FCS games into the spring. You don't have to worry about those body bag games we all endure during the fall. FCS teams still get paid. You mentioned you get the game aspect out of it. And you also don't have to risk your star players. You can play your reserves against those FCS teams.
That makes a lot of sense, and in the NCAA, that'll never happen. They're not here for the common sense of it all, Yak.
I know.
That'll take a rule change. That'll take decades. It moves at a glacier rate. There's a lot of logic to what you're saying. But, there's a lot of logic to things that happen or that could happen in the NCAA and don't. For instance, when you invite a team to a tournament and they say no, you just move on and that's it. But, see, that's logic, and that doesn't happen. Logic says if you were going to 50 years ago start a lot of women's sports programs for Title IX, you would go to established sports that we know people watch, and you would have figure skating and gymnastics teams. What do you got, like 150 schools that figured out to have gymnastics and there is no figure skating, but those are the sports everybody watches in the Winter Olympics, and they get huge TV ratings and it can generate revenue. Instead, they're playing a lot of other sports which have never proven to be that popular to the fans and are expensive, and you can do them, but shouldn't you do the sports and generate the revenue too?
Sure.
Logic.
Sure.
Logic. NCAA moves at a glacial rate. So, that is one thing, as much as we can complain that conferences are running the show and the NCAA isn't, and certainly the Big Ten and the SEC have the most money and they have their own self-interest. We get that. But they have been able to change and try new things. Some work, some don't. But everything isn't going to be a hit. That doesn't make any sense. And they have been able to try more things more quickly than the NCAA. For whatever reason, the sclerosis set in. I'm not exactly sure what that is, but I love saying sclerosis. The NCAA has agreed to permanently drop its rule prohibiting athletes from negotiating the terms of name, image, and likeness until after they enroll in school. Change is one of the terms of a legal settlement announced yesterday between the NCAA and a group of state attorney generals who sued the NCAA last year, claiming that the restriction on NIL negotiations violated federal antitrust law, because of course it does. You can't prevent people from making money. You can't tell a 10th grader you can't negotiate. Can you imagine if over here in the theater and drama department they were doing that? Hey, you child actor, you can't make money. You can't be in that movie. What? You can't be in that TV show. What? You can't form that music group and go on tour. What? But somehow in sports that's okay. And the rest of life, it's completely wrong. Why was that okay for so long? DJ and PK.
Hashtag Major League Baseball.
While you were sleeping, you ought to be playing a movie theme right there. While you were sleeping, the Major League Baseball season started on the other side of the world. And it's a brilliant idea, quite frankly. As baseball tries to make more money, why not take the game to other countries? The Dodgers, in the Tokyo series, beat the Cubs, and it was small ball. A 3-run fifth inning. They put together 3 singles, a walk, and an error. They scored 3 times. They beat the Cubs 4-1. And they'll play another game. These are officially Cubs home games. Man, taking games out of Wrigley Field. Unbelievable. Well, they had to take 2 big brand names over there, so it's either there or take games out of Dodger Stadium. A little surprised they didn't take 1 home game from each team, but whatever. So the Dodgers win 4-1. The Cubs, 1 run, 3 hits, 2 errors. You're a long-suffering Cubs fan. So you do have 1 World Series now, so you've got that. But, man, almost more errors than hits to open the season. Oof. And the Cubs are supposed to be better this year, so it's just 1 game. We'll see how it shakes out. I really think this is something the NBA needs to copy. They sent them over there a couple weeks in advance of the season. I guess we're like 9 or 10 days now from the season opener, because it's a week from Thursday is opening day. So 9 days out. And you play a couple games. Imagine if the NBA did this. This is right next to your idea, Yak. We got to change these things. Let's go. Let's do new things. You got all these foreign players. You could pair up NBA teams. They could go play 2 games somewhere in the world. You send a couple teams to Australia. There's plenty of Australians in the league. You send other teams back to Europe. There's plenty of Europeans in the league. But you can go anywhere. You go anywhere that's got an arena and you can make money, right?
Absolutely.
So you don't have to go to the same places all the time. I mean, they will always go to London because there's a lot of money in London. There's a lot of Americans in London. Even if basketball never becomes a big thing in London, you could go sell out a couple games and you could probably get some headlines. And you can go to Germany and go to Slovenia and go to Japan or South Korea, Australia, New Zealand.
Come on.
Go to China. Well, at the time, if you're getting along with the Chinese government, depending,
Fair.
There's a recent history. But, yeah, I mean, you can go anywhere, right? I mean, they've had Argentinians and Argentinians. They've had Argentines and Brazilites, Brazilians. go wherever. Take guys home, as long as there's the infrastructure, the arena. But, man, if you know you're going to go somewhere, you can kind of help them along with that, if you know what I mean. There's money to be made for everybody. There's an arena to be used the rest of the time. The game is played on every continent. Once there's the infrastructure to make money on every continent and in every country, I don't know about taking someone back to Slovenia. I have no idea if they've got 15,000-seat arenas with luxury suites there, or taking players back, to Africa. And you got to think outside the box, like to the Philippines. I know they got a basketball league. What are the arenas like there? I have no idea. It would be a big deal to take Jordan Clarkson there. I'll bet you that'd be a big deal. There's a lot to sell in the NBA. Man, do it 2 weeks earlier in preseason and give them time when they come back. Everybody still gets 40 home games. That's plenty. All right, so Dodgers win 4-1. The baseball season is underway. They'll play one more game. They'll come back, and then next week we'll get after it for real. DJ and PK.
NHL.
Who told you he stayed patient? No, but that's what we love about him. He's competitive. A guy who's competitive like him, he wants to make a difference every night. When you talk to him about being patient, he looks like you look at your grandfather when he tells you a story about in the old day. He has no time for that. He wants right here, right now. He wants to make the difference, and I don't want to take that away from him. It's the reverse. I love that. I love his compete level. He wants to be a difference maker. What's wrong with that? Nothing wrong.
I love it when the bear gets wound up. Andre Tourney, the more he gets, what's wrong with his compete level? Hey, his English is way better than my French. He's talking about Logan Cooley. You got to. A lot of the team is in the 25 to 30-year-old range. It's not like the whole team is young. But a couple of the key players, the best players, the guys who are either creating or scoring goals, are very young. And Cooley's one of them. Right? So Cooley and Gunther, 20 and 21, turning 21, 22. I have to get their birthdays down. I don't have those down pat yet. They are way young, those guys, and they are, in a lot of ways, driving the bus. But, man, Logan Cooley doesn't want to take 5 years to be really good. He wants to be really good right now. That's what you need. That's what drives guys. That ought to be music to every hockey fan's ears. And he's had a stretch where he didn't score, and, guys like him and Gunther, and other guys can go 5 or 6 games without scoring, but if one of those guys does, it's a big deal, and they want to get back to putting the puck in the net. And tonight they'll have a chance in Edmonton against the Oilers. 8 o'clock, puck drop at 7, pregame at 6 here on The Zone. Adrian Denny on Hockey Night in Utah. It is still a tight race in the Western Conference, so every game is huge. They've only gotten 1 point out of 4 against Edmonton this year. All right, DJ and PK, that is what is trending. There are your headlines, and they are brought to you by Shamrock Plumbing. There's no job too big or too small. Get the personal touch with Shamrock Plumbing. Coming up next, we are going to talk VCU basketball with Robby Robinson, the play-by-play voice. He will join us next. Mike Fulta from the Utah Hockey Club at 8. Spencer Nelson at 9. DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. This is Utah Jazz Ticket Tuesday. We'll give away tickets in 1 hour right here on The Zone.
So you think you know everything about college basketball, huh?
These people are not dumb. They're very smart.
Okay, smart guy. Time to put that knowledge to the test and go head-to-head with the Zone staff. It's another edition of KSL Sports Basketball Mayhem. Log on right now at KSLSports.com to fill out your bracket. The listener with the top bracket will receive $1,000 of cold, hard cash. And if you finish with a better bracket than... let's see here. Who can we pick on? How about Jeremiah Jensen? You'll be entered into a drawing to win $500. It's KSL Sports Basketball Mayhem, powered by Omada Real Estate. Download the free Omada app today from the real estate experts at the Stern Team.
Join Hans and Scotty G Wednesday noon to 3 at RGS Exteriors, 4235 Farm Road in West Jordan. DJ and PK, it is time to talk NCAA tournament basketball now. We are joined by the voice of VCU, Robby Robinson. Robby, good morning.
David, good morning. How are things in Salt Lake City today?
To be honest, there's a lot of snow.
Is it really? Oh, wow.
A lot of spring snow in March. Yes, people have been told stay home until 9, let the plows do their thing, and go into work a little late, run your errands a little late. Don't get an early start because it's a mess out there.
Okay. Well, I hope everybody driving safely or heeding that advice, I guess.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
BYU fans are having a little bit of a flashback here. Oh, no. They were a 6 last year, and they lost to 11-seeded Duquesne out of the Atlantic 10.
Ooh.
And now here comes BYU as a 6 seed, playing the 11 seed out of the Atlantic 10. This time it's the VCU Rams. 28-6, 15-3. More importantly, they are 18-2 since New Year's Day. What did they figure out? Not that 10-4 is a bad start, but man, 18-2 across conference and the conference tournament, which they won, and they tied for first place in the regular season at 15-3. What did they figure out?
They figured out a lot. I think we hit more shots. We didn't shoot it great in the non-conference part of our schedule, David, but we really started to pick that up in the conference part of the schedule, and we made more free throws, which I know might seem kind of an academic thing, but we're around 70% from the free throw line during the non-conference, which is not bad. I mean, I think most coaches would like more than that, but it's not horrific, but we were on 78%. So when you start making your free throws, you start making threes, all of a sudden things can really start popping, and it allows us to set up our defense, which is a little bit, it's a pressure defense. It's not as frenetic as VCU had under Shaka Smart. If you're a basketball nut, you might remember the havoc and just all over the place. It's not quite that. It's a derivative of that, but not exactly that intense. But it allows us to set it up, and then our defense was better. We're very well rounded. I mean, we are one of the best defensive teams in the conference. We're one of the best offensive teams in the conference, and I think we just got things rolling. The other thing too, and I think BYU fans can relate to this, we've got an experienced team. Like, we start. A couple guys are in their 5th year because of their COVID year. I mean, we probably have over 600 games of experience with our starting 5. And when you play 13 non-conference games, you turn the page into the new year, all of a sudden that experience can really start paying dividends. And that's what happened to us as well. And, yeah, we rolled. I mean, we rolled through the league, got nicked a couple times by a good Dayton team and St. Bonaventure and St. Louis. But other than that, it's been nothing but W since we've turned the calendar page.
VCU can really defend, and they can really defend the 3, about 30%, 30.6%, 30.4%, 21st in the country. Now, for people who are like trying to figure out what that means and what that looks like, well, San Diego State is 19th and Gonzaga is 18th. I think people in this part of the country have watched those teams play. And elite teams like Tennessee is number 1, and Auburn is number 7. Michigan State's number 2. So defending the 3 is a big deal. How do they do it? I mean, some teams do it with matchup zones. Some teams do it with big, long athletes. I don't think that's what you're going to get in the A-10 because other leagues have more money and will get those players. How do they do it? Because that is an eye-popping number.
Man, that's a good question. I'll ask Coach Odom that before the game on Thursday and get back to you on that, David. No, I think we work really hard on the defensive side, and not that other teams don't. Like, I mean, I'm sure most coaches preach that and teach that. I think the knowledge, it goes back to experience. When you have that many games, you're taught by a coach like Ryan Odom, and in that part of the country, everybody knows how good of a coach Ryan Odom is. They saw it at Utah State for a couple of years. They're able to absorb that information, and they're able to execute that information. There's great coaches all across the country, and they might not have the kind of personnel that can absorb and execute. And our guys do. We won't let you get a three-pointer off without a hand in your face. We rotate, we switch, we communicate. All the things that you hear in your local high school basketball clinics, we do, and we do it at a high level, and we do it with guys. You're right, because we're not super long. We're not going to come out front with 6'6", 6'8", 6'9". We are kind of your normal standard team, but man, we know how to get in spots. We know how to rotate. We know how to switch off screens. We know how to battle through screens. Man, Coach Odom got on a guy the other day because he wasn't battling through a screen. He went under a screen, and in the timeout, he was all over the guy. And that was 33 games in, and that's a kid that's played 160 games in his career. And I think that's how much it's really taught to these guys that you have to do, and we execute it. So I think the answer would be we just get a really good game plan and we execute it, and not every school does that. And that's probably the difference between teams that are watching this tournament from home and teams that are playing in it this weekend.
Max Shulga, 15 points a game, playing 32, almost 33 minutes a game. He's carrying the fifth-year senior's carrying a huge load. He played at Utah State for 3 years. He's gone with Coach Odom. He's at VCU the last couple years. He's getting better every year. He was really taken off his third year at Utah State, and I'm sure a lot of Aggie fans were, sorry to see him go at that point. What does he give the team aside from the obvious? He's leading them in scoring.
Man, he facilitates really well. We played on Friday in the opening round of the A-10 tournament against St. Bonaventure. He had 2 points, David, but he had 11 assists. And I think that is so emblematic of his year that he doesn't have to carry the entire load, but he finds ways for other guys to get involved. And he's so strong. He absorbs contact better than probably anybody in the league, and probably one of the tops in the country. And it's actually a stat that our strength guys keep, is like strength absorption. I'm not sure how they do it. I probably don't absorb shots really well. David, I don't know how you are in your shot absorption, but Max is really good at it. So he is, and again, I think he has cranked up his defense. I think for those in Utah that remember him as an Aggie, probably don't necessarily think of him as a elite defender. He is super tough defensively, and he has made that change in his game. And we are very happy and very proud that he did, because he is a difference maker on the defensive side. He's one of the top players in the league in steals and deflections, and it's a different player that I think Aggie fans will probably watch him if they want to watch the game on Thursday and say, boy, that is a different Max Shulga on that side of the floor. And it's made him an NBA prospect, and I think that in itself has been a huge difference for him too.
It has been said for a long time that the NCAA tournament is all about guard play. If you get good guard play, you can make a deep run. I think we got two teams right here who would be super happy to win a game, and then they'll worry about a deep run, just to win a game. And in this game, BYU is going to put a freshman out there. And Egor Demon has a lot of size. He is a brilliant passer. He does not shoot it well. He doesn't score a lot. Doesn't necessarily look to score a lot at times. Sometimes he seems to be a little more aggressive when it comes to taking shots. Other times, are they going to let him run the point, or are they going to go get him? Some teams defend from the hoop out. Other people defend outside in, put pressure on the perimeter and never get to the rim. Other people like to make sure the lane is clogged, and then they'll extend their defense and go put pressure. Those, do they like to go trap and just go get a guy at midcourt? How is VCU going to attack him? Because a freshman, at least for a stretch, they do have another guy they can go to who's experienced. But for a stretch, the ball will be in his hands. How are they going to handle him?
My gut tells me that they're going to pressure him from the moment that you inbound underneath the basket, which is why making shots for VCU obviously it's important because you want to score, but it's important because it sets up your defense. And I think he's going to have someone in his face 94 feet up and down. And I don't think we'll trap unless he works his way into the corner. I could see us bringing one of our bigs out, considering his size, and making it a little bit more problematic for him to pass out of a corner. So let's say he angles to his right. I could see a big jumping out, and we rotate over, and all of a sudden that angle and that lane to pass that he's so good at becomes a little thinner. That's the way I see it. I don't necessarily see him like being able to freely walk it up the floor and then boom, we're trapping at midcourt, or we're gonna really pick up the defense at the 3-point line. I think it's going to be 94 feet because we've done that all year long. I mean, I'm not breaking news. I wasn't in the huddle. I wasn't in practice. I'm not going to be at practice today. So that's just how we've done it with. And we have not faced a guard probably like that. Which if I'm BYU, I'm thinking, man, that's good because we don't have experience. There's not a lot of 6'7", 6'8" guys in the A-10 that handle the basketball. We've got some size, but not that kind of size. So that'll be a different look that VCU will have to defend, and I think that's going to be a key on how we do that. But I think Shulga will probably get him a little bit. It's going to be a team effort. Jack Clark, who is the MVP of the A-10 tournament, he'll probably have it because Jack's 6'9" and can move. So that will be interesting to see kind of the matchup in the chess game between the two coaches on that, and who will defend him up and down the floor.
How good is VCU along the front line? What kind of size is there? How well do they rebound? There's a guy named Keba Keita who has been putting up some big numbers late in the year for BYU. Is BYU going to be able to turn him loose and dominate the backboards? How do the Rams compete there?
Well, David, that's another excellent question. He's going to have some success. We do not have your standard 6'10", 260 guy. Like we go, I think Luke Bamboye is 6'11", probably low 200s. Christian Furman, very similar. Offensively, those guys are good, not going to be confused with Ralph Sampson and Patrick Ewing anytime soon, but really good offensive guys. Defensively, they're super athletic. And we have played guys. I'd be interested, like, what is your take on Keita's athleticism and his ability to jump, like his spring?
Excellent.
Okay,
Excellent.
so that's as a VCU
He's a
guy.
big-time athlete, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So we played a guy this weekend, Jalen Haynes from George Mason, who is similar size, but had good footwork, but didn't have quite the hops. And we were able to block a lot of shots because we are one of the best in the country in blocking shots with those two guys, Bamboye and Furman. If Keita has the ability to rise above that, that'll be a challenge for VCU for sure. So we don't have a 260 guy that we can roll out to just bang with him, but we're well coached, and I guarantee no matter what, we will have some kind of plan that if we execute will work, and that's a big part. Is
All right, well, we just lost him, but we were about to have to wrap up there anyway. There's the voice of VCU basketball, Robby Robinson. Thanks to him for joining us. DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. We'll take a break. Mike Folta coming up at the top of the hour. Utah Hockey Club, radio play-by-play voice. Stay with us right here on The Zone.
The NCAA tournament is here, and the Cougars and Aggies are going dancing.
Fire, score!
The KSL Sports Zone will be with BYU and Utah State every step of the way in Denver and Lexington as they look to make a run in March. Hear all the play-by-play action as the Zone will be your exclusive radio home of the NCAA tournament. From Dayton to San Antonio and everywhere in between, your home for every shining moment of the NCAA tournament is right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
The band of the day today, I think this is one of the most divisive bands going. Maroon 5 lead singer Adam Levine. He is 46. It's brought to you by Live Nation. For all the live concerts and events in 2025, check out livenation.com. In your circle of friends, Yak, you got people who love Maroon 5 and people who loathe them?
100%.
It really is weird, isn't it?
Yeah, well, they first broke out when I was all the way back in junior high, DJ, and I can even remember back then I had friends who, they came to UVU and did a concert there. This is telling you years ago. And I had friends who were so excited to go to that concert, and other friends who were like, why would you want to go to that concert? And we're talking like 7th and 8th graders.
Divisive even with the middle schools. I love them. I hate them. I don't know how many bands. I think Rush, when I was a kid, is a band that had that impact on people. Nickelback people just made fun of. But I guess there were – I didn't know people who thought Nickelback was a good idea. They made money, though.
They made a lot of money.
Yeah, so they did have an audience. They took a lot of heat. Anyway, intriguing how that happens sometimes. All right, DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. Coming up, we've got Mike Folta, Utah Hockey Club play-by-play voice, is going to join us next. You'll hear from him. Spencer Nelson, former Utah State basketball star, current radio analyst, is going to join us at 9:05. And it's a Utah Jazz Ticket Tuesday, so we're giving away tickets at 8:30 and 9:30 this morning. The Boston Celtics are going to be here Friday night. You know, usually that's the game, Yak, that people want to see, right? They want to see the defending champs are coming in. They're second in the East. They got a bunch of household names on the team. But the intriguing game this week is the Wizards, because it's the race to the bottom, and they got the 2 worst records in the NBA.
It's the game they got Lowry Markkinen, like the Jazz fined for Lowry Markkinen last time.
Yeah. Yeah, I expect we're going to see the same thing where he comes out, he's really aggressive, and plays in the first quarter, a little less in the second and third, and then just sits in the fourth.
No doubt.
It's like, I wonder when is the next time he will take a shot in the fourth quarter of a game that matters.
Next,
because he hasn't taken a shot the last two nights. Or last two games. I'd have to check and see if he's even played a minute. I don't think he has.
I'll say next October. Why not?
That's it. No more. He will not take a fourth quarter shot.
Sorry, this October. I should say.
Yeah, I know what you meant. Next season, this calendar
Next
year.
season, yeah.
All right, DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. Yak, what do you have to tell the people?
All right, everybody. If you think you have the best dog, it is time to find out how they stack up in the Man's Best Friend Bracket Challenge. Of course, we're having fun with March Madness here on The Zone. Go to KSLSports.com. Vote for your favorite dog breeds. Brought to you by IFA. Stop by one of their stores today. Visit them online at IFA.coop. That's IFA, helping grow things that you love. But once again, this Man's Best Friend Bracket Challenge is live now at KSLSports.com.
Take your shot. Make your pick. All right, DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. We're talking hockey next.